Hello, and welcome to this training on special education data collection. This training is intended for staff who are responsible for submitting special education data and for special education directors. We will provide updates and discuss common problems associated with December child count, June exit, child find collections, as well as other collections in the IDA data manager, and respond to questions. This is a reminder that ODE supports the following equity stance. Please consult the link for more information about education equity. This is what we will be going over today. Before we go over the collections, we need to talk about confidentiality. Data collected is considered confidential. Personally identifiable information is protected by FERPA, the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, Oregon Identity Theft Protection Act, and in some cases, HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Mainly, this is through the transfer of records from one agency to another. Loss of protected data can have a financial impact to your school, district, ESD, including fines and costs of remediation. Failure to comply can lead to legal problems, lawsuits, fines, etc. Keep in mind that state email is public, so be careful when sending information to us. For example, student name, date of birth, grade, etc. It is okay to send SSID alone with zero personal information. ODE policy is that cell sizes less than 6 are suppressed. We follow this policy for all data that is shared publicly, whether requested by an individual or an entity, such as the media or posted to the web. The ODE Help Desk, if you're having difficulties with submitting your data, you can call the help desk for technical assistance submitting your data, to see if your data has been submitted, questions about access rights and permissions. However, the ODE Help Desk can't answer questions about our collections, December child count, June exit, and child find. So we recommend that you always call a member of the data team first, and then if necessary, we will send you to the help desk. Before we begin talking about the data collections, one of the many reasons that you collect and submit data and why it's so important is that the 2019 Oregon Student Success Act requires school districts to build on the strengths and assets of young people, educators, and families across the state, including students with disabilities. Data are critical to focusing priorities and the needs as it relates to the SSA. The special education data collections provide essential data regarding students with disabilities. For now, we're going to cover when the collections close and some related information. This is just an overview of the deadlines. We will provide more details, including when collections open later. August and September, update your staff contacts in the IDA data manager. September 16th, the review window for June exit, child find, discipline, restraint and seclusion rooms closed. Agencies had about a 3-week window to make corrections to data previously submitted for these collections. In October, districts should be contacting and communicating with their regional programs and the Oregon School for the Deaf to gather the data to be reported. Keep in mind, it is the district's responsibility to gather and report these data. December 1, as always, this is the official count date for December child count. December 16th is the close date for December child count, and then the final submission form for December child count is due to ODE by the end of the day on January 6th. December 20th, coordinated early intervening services and private schools collections are due. Links to the instructions can be found on the SECC webpage. These two collections are located in the IDA data manager. And then note that the private school collection includes the total enrollment at parent-placed private schools within your boundaries. This report is important fiscally since it affects IDA dollars. Even if there are no private schools in your district boundaries, you must still submit by verifying the enrollment screen in the IDA data manager. Cynthia Garten is the data owner for both of these collections, so if you need help with it, please contact her. And then February 10th, the December child count review window closes, and then the final submission form for it is due to ODE by the end of the day, March 3rd. July 11th, child find and June exit collections close, And then also June 11th, discipline incidents, restraint seclusion incidents, and seclusion rooms collections close. Before we delve into the collections, just a few tips to reduce your stress level. It's best not to wait for the last week to work on the collection. The last week before it closes, we send out a listserv message and contact all who are not done. Please respond to a call or email so we know you are on it. We don't want anyone to be late, so this is why we call. These are the core field changes for SSID for 2024-2025. These changes are in effect for December child count, June special education exit, and special education child find. The data element changes are renaming of the American Indian Tribal Membership Code to Tribal Affiliation Code. This code indicates tribal affiliation through self-identification, such as being enrolled in, a descendant of, or affiliated with a tribe recognized by the federal government. Language of origin changes, added Dari, code 6590, added Creo, code 7000, an update to Pashto to be Pashto Pushto, and we removed the Aramaic ARC code 0210. And these are the collections that the data team supports. For this training, we will be going over the ones with asterisks. The others are covered separately in webinars offered later in the school year by us and the data owners, Lisa Bateman and Shava Feinstein. If you have questions about other collections, please email them to us. The first collection we'll cover is December child count. The collection opens November 21st and closes December 16th. The review window will open January 16th and closes February 10th, 2025. Jackie McKim is the data owner. The review window is your opportunity to make corrections to the data and to review audits from the data team to help clean up your data. The purpose of December child count, or SECC as it is otherwise known, is to collect the count of special education students as of December 1. Why did we collect these data? Because it's required by IDA Section 618. Section 618 of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act requires that each state submit data about infants and toddlers, birth through age 2, who receive early intervention services under Part C of IDA, and children with disabilities ages 3 through 21 who receive special education and related services under Part B of IDEA. For December child count, you report students who have current valid Oregon eligibility, have a current valid IEP, and are receiving services as of December 1. Note, these are students receiving services in person, virtually, or both, sometimes referred to as hybrid. And there is one exception. Unless it is a parentally placed private school student who is not receiving services, these students should also be reported. The federal government requires states to collect and use these data for use in the IDA flow-through funds distribution to districts and for statewide tracking purposes. Do not report children or students who are being evaluated for an initial disability, or students who left special education, students who are not receiving services, including students who are being homeschooled with no services, students who received a modified diploma and are no longer receiving special education services, or students who received a regular high school diploma because free and appropriate public education ends. You can serve these students, but you can't report them on the December child count. And then be careful with reporting students under age 21 who received a modified diploma. If they received a modified diploma and continue to receive services, you will report them on the child count. If they don't continue to receive services, then you wouldn't report them on the child count. Generally speaking, the resident district, or where the parent or guardian lives, is responsible for reporting. This is the district that is responsible for free and appropriate public education. However, there are some exceptions. Parent-placed private school students, if the school is within your district boundaries, then you must report them. A charter school, if it is within your district boundaries, then you must report students that attend the charter school. Open enrollment, if students have been accepted in an open enrollment slot in your district prior to July 1, 2019, you must report them as the student became your district's responsibility. In other words, in an open enrollment slot, the attending district becomes responsible for free and appropriate public education and for reporting these students. Interdistrict or interagency transfer agreement. This is a written agreement involving the parent or guardian with another district to serve the student for your district. The attending district is responsible for FAPE and for reporting interdistrict transfer students. Foster care, if the student resides in another district but continues to attend the district of origin, then the district of origin, which is the attending district, reports the record. How are the data used? Federal reports. Oregon annually submits multiple reports to the U.S. Department of Education to comply with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. For fiscal, the SECC does not drive the federal IDA Part B flow-through allocations. It does, however, determine the number of eligible students served by state programs, YSEP, JDEP, long-term care and treatment, pediatric nursing facilities, and hospital programs that receive a portion of the district federal funds. The December child count is one of the many factors that are used to determine the amount of flow-through funds distributed to districts. Proportionate share. The SECC data is used as part of the calculation for proportionate share. This is what must be expended to provide equitable special education and related services for eligible parent-placed private school children. Statistical. It's used to make decisions in a myriad of ways, including by your district, by ODE, or by the legislature, for example. Data is also used in the at-a-glance special education profile, formerly the special education report card, the special education systems performance review and improvement, also known as SPR&I, and the state performance plan annual performance report, also known as the SPP APR. Data are also used for LEA determinations. Child count data are used in the calculations for certain compliance indicators, significant disproportionality, as well as timely and accurate data submissions, which we will talk more about a little later. What's new for 2024-2025? New enrollment code R, which is recovery school. New agency serving type codes. 19, which is for pediatric nursing facility with regional inclusive services. Code 29, which is pediatric nursing facility with regional inclusive services for ECSE. 39, which is PNF with regional inclusive services. 40, which is recovery school only. And then finally 41, which is recovery school with regional inclusive services. As you work on your submission, here are some things to watch out for. For homeschool records, federal placement code should be 41. The attending district and the attending school is the ESD's ID. If the attending school is a charter school, then the enrollment type code should be C. If the enrollment type code is N, then the attending district and the attending school IDs should match the resident district and resident school IDs. If interdistrict transfer student, which is an enrollment type code I, then the special education resident district ID cannot be the same as the resident district ID and the attending district ID. If a student is placed in the district in an improved private school, then the enrollment type code is A. Some other things to keep an eye out for juvenile detention education program students, both the attending district ID and the SECC resident ID should be reported as 3476. For youth corrections education program students, the attending ID, district ID, and the SECC resident district ID should be reported as 3477. For long-term care and treatment, LTCT students, both the attending district ID and the SECC resident district ID should be reported as 3559. The agency serving code should be reported as 31, and the enrollment type code should be reported as other O. If you are a contractor and report for JDEP and YSEP, ensure that you check for missing records. There are always about 20 missing records every year that we have to ask to be added during the review window. Some additional problem areas: contact Oregon School for the Deaf to see if there are students to report and to check on their placement. The secure student ID or the SSID, when you get those errors, there are two common ones that submitters frequently encounter. The student effective date is outdated. This means that the record has not been touched since prior to September 1. To resolve this, someone needs to open the record in the SSID system, make any updates, and save the record even if there are no updates. Demographic mismatch, the error messages identifies the fields that are not matching in your record as compared to the SSID system. If your record is accurate, then the SSID system record will need to be revised. Fall ADM or annual daily membership, the race ethnicity flag should match child count or fall ADM. The grade level should match fall ADM. And the early learner flag should match what is reported in fall ADM. Birth date should match what was reported in fall ADM. The prior year child count, the birth date not matching what was reported in the prior year child count. The grade is lower than what was reported in the prior year child count. And then the final submission form, be sure to resubmit if you make changes after emailing it to us. We don't mind if you have to send it to us again. Secondary federal placement sometimes poses a problem, and you'll want to see the handout that's provided for this training, which is called the decision tree for reporting secondary federal placement. Secondary federal placement only applies to early childhood special education and age 5 kindergarteners. Keep in mind that the kindergarten classroom in this instance is considered an early childhood classroom. In deciding which code to use, the easiest way is to first look at the amount of time students spend in the early childhood classroom. If greater than 10 hours, it will be an M code, think M for more. If less than 10 hours, it will be an L code, think L for less. Next, think about where the student receives their services. If 50% or more of the services are provided in the early childhood classroom, then it will be an M1 or an L1 code. If less than 50% of the services in the early childhood classroom, then it will be an M2 or an L2 code. The next collection we're going to go over is June Exit, which is also part of SECC. This collection opens May 29th and closes June 11th, 2025, and the review window for it will open August 21st, 2025, and closes September 15th, 2025. And Jackie McKim is the data owner. The purpose of June Exit is to collect the count of students who exited special education from July 1 to June 30th. In short, you are reporting how a student left special education. Also, early intervention or early intervening students transitioning to ECSE, which is also an A2 record type, is reported. And why do we collect these data? Because it is also required by IDEA. For June Exit, agencies report EI children birth through age 2, ECSE children ages 3 through 4, and school-age students kindergarten through 21 with the date and the reason they exited special education. The record type code for exited EI children is E1. For ECSE children, it's E2, and for school-age students, it's E3. Additionally, for children transitioning from EI to ECSE, so EI students not exiting special education, just the EI program, these students are reported in the June Exit collection as record type code A2, which is active ECSE. Other types of records are optional, such as code 80, which is not claimed. Not reported is only used in the IDEA Data Manager or a district system to exclude records. If the IDEA Data Manager is used, record type not reported NR, it will not show up in the export submission file. However, they will be in your backup file. If your district is utilizing their own system, make sure it excludes these records from your submission file. For exit records, we're asking how the student left special education. Transient students can be difficult to track because they may have multiple exits. If the student was there the last day of school, do not report an exit record. The next 3 slides will show the codes used to describe how a student exited special education. The full descriptions for these can be found in the Process and Content Manual. Exit reason codes 10 through 19 are for children exiting EI programs. Codes 20 through 29 are for children exiting ECSE programs, and codes 30 to 39 are for students exiting school-age programs. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I do want to highlight a few. These codes, 10 through 19, are used for exiting EI children. The EI ECSE programs report these data to ODE. Code 11, these are students or children who have been referred for Part B services, but the determination has not been made by their third birthday. For children who are exiting EI because they turned 3 on or before June 30th, 2025, but the evaluation for ECSE has not been completed, use this code to report the exit record for the students. If the student exited EI by other means, you would of course use the appropriate exit code. And as I mentioned earlier, children transitioning from EI to ECSE students, so EI students not exiting special education, just the EI program, these students are reported to the exit collection as record type code A2. Then these codes, 20 through 29, are used for exiting ECSE children and are similar to the EI codes. Code 20, these are children who have exited ECSE and were determined to be eligible for Part B, meaning they are transitioning from ECSE to school age and not exiting special education. These children will be entering kindergarten the next school year and will continue in special education at the school district. These children will be reported with record type code E2. Just wanted to point out also code 21, like EI, these are children who have been referred for Part B services, but the determination has not been made. If the student exited ECSE by other means, you would of course use the appropriate code. Next, these codes 30 through 39 are used for exiting school-age students and are different than EI and ECSE exit codes. The next few slides, we will be going over some of the complexities of reporting school-age children who exited special education. For June exit school age, you will report records for the student who left special education, including students graduating with a regular high school diploma, which includes the regular and the modified diploma. So the regular high school diploma, when a student receives it, FAPE ends, the district can continue to serve, you just can't report them on the child count and must submit an exit record. For the modified diploma, that tends to be a bit more confusing as an exit category. Students awarded the modified diploma are still eligible for FAPE until age 21. If the student is expected back, do not report an exit record. But when the school starts in the fall and it turns out the student is not returning or expected not to return, add the exit record during the review window. On the other hand, if the student is not expected back and you are sure they are not returning, for example, you complete the summary of performance, they are set up for post-school employment or attending a college, you report as exiting with a modified diploma. But if the student shows up in the fall during the review window, remove the record and do not exit the student. If age 21 or older as of September 1st, 2025, the district can continue to serve the student. You just can't report them on the December child count and must submit an exit record. Talk to your special education director if you're not sure how to report these students. This information is discussed during the annual IEP meeting. Students need to be exited in the year that they actually leave special education. Delaying can impact the post-school outcomes collection, as surveys may not be completed for 2 years due to waiting more than 1 year after the student left. And also, it makes it appear that the student exited a full year later than they actually did. If there's still confusion, please contact a member of the data team to help you determine how to report the record. You will also report students exiting with some other type of credential or certificate, extended diploma and received certificate. The student is still eligible for FAPE until age 21 and can return, but if they exit and are not returning, you will report them on your exit report. received certificate in addition to receiving a certificate of attendance. If the student has a GED at the time of the exit, but no other credentials such as a diploma, be sure to report the student as received certificate, not dropped out. Students dropping out, dropped out is the only dropout category. You will always want to see if the student exited in some other manner. Check the SSID system to see if they showed up in another district. If a student left school to enter a GED or Job Corps program, they should be considered dropped out. In rare instances, students that continue to be jointly enrolled in the school district and either the GED or Job Corps program and continue to receive special education services. Assuming special education services do continue, these latter students would be reported as receiving a certificate upon completion of their GED or Job Corps program. Note that kindergarten students can't be reported as dropped out since they are not generally compulsory attendance age. And then June exit is used for dropout rate and for the SPP, APR, and SPRNI, and also the special education profile. You will also report students exiting for some other reason, reached maximum age. Students who have reached maximum age, which is age 21, without receiving a diploma or certificate, should be coded as 34. Remember that students who turn 21 during the school year may continue to receive services throughout the rest of the school year. If a student will be turning 21 on or before September 1st, the summer after the school year ends, then you will need to be sure to report them as exiting. An error will result if you try to report the student the next school year. Return to regular education, such as no longer eligible or revoked, moved to another district, or deceased, or other exit categories. Who is not reported? A student must be eligible to be reported as exited. If they are still being evaluated for a disability, do not report them. If they're under age 21 and still receiving services, do not report them as exited. Who is responsible for reporting? Same as December child count. Generally, the resident district reports and the same exceptions apply. How are the data used? Oregon is required to complete a federal report to the U.S. Department of Education on students age 14 and older who exited special education, and this is to comply with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And then for EIECSE students, exit data is also submitted and used for federal reporting. These data are also used by the U.S. Department of Education for state-level determinations on the graduation and dropout rates. June exit data is used for graduation and dropout rates, and also on the at-a-glance special education profile. The Office of Special Education Programs directed that all states must use June exit data for these indicators. Data is also used for the post-school outcomes. Reminder that what you submit for the 2024-2025 June exit will be on the post-school outcomes collection during the 25-26 school year, and then the exit prep is not the submission site for the next year's follow-up survey. Like December child count, we have a new enrollment code R for recovery school and the same new agency serving type codes. For June exit, here are some things to keep an eye on. The 10-day drop rule indicates that a student must be in their seat and attending, and this is for ADM, the average daily membership. However, this does not apply to June exit. For example, a medically fragile student still requires free and appropriate public education and are not exiting special education. If the student will be turning 21 and exiting between July 1 and September 1, in other words, during the extended school year, be sure to report as exiting the preceding regular school year. For example, if the student will turn 21 and exits on July 3rd, 2025, be sure to report the exit record on the June 2024-2025 collection using the last day of your school year or June 30th, 2025 as the exit date. Students with grade 10 or 11 exiting with regular diploma, extended diploma, modified diploma, or certificate, you'll want to double check to make sure the grade level is accurate to be sure that you've reported them accurately. There were many records where the student was reported as returned to regular education prior to December 1, but they also were reported on the December child count. If a student returns to regular education before December 1, they should be reported on the child count. If the student returns to regular education but then is found eligible, resumes receiving special education services before the end of the school year, they should not be reported on the June exit. Dropped out, always check the SSID system to see if they showed up somewhere else before reporting them as a dropout. And if a student has a GED, then the exit reason is received certificate, not dropped out. There seems to have been a bit of confusion concerning this. If incorrectly reported as dropped out, it will impact your dropout rate. Missing records for students. We've had quite a few records that were not reported on the 22-23 June exit, so they had to be added to the PSO survey for the 2023-24 collection this year. When gathering your data to submit for June exit this spring, make sure you have all the records you need to report. Students who come and go can affect the survey by not being added or excluded as they were on it the year before. And then modified diploma are often missed, so be sure to add them to your exit submission if they're not returning, even if they are under age 21. And if records need to be added to the post-school outcomes, then the district will be considered inaccurate for their June exit submission. Same as December child count, be sure to resubmit your final submission form if you make changes to your submission. Some other things to keep your eye on for June exit: the race ethnicity flag should match child count or fall ADM. For JDEP students, both the attending district ID and the SECC resident district ID should be reported as 3476. For YSEP students, both the attending district ID and the SECC resident district ID should be reported as 3477. For long-term care and treatment students, both the attending district ID and the SECC resident district ID should be reported as 3559. The next collection we want to talk about is Child Find. The collection opens May 29th, 2025 and closes July 11th, 2025. The review window will open August 21st, 2025 and closes September 15th, 2025. Sharice Gordon is the data owner. The purpose of Child Find is to identify, locate, and evaluate children with disabilities in a timely manner. Why do we collect these data? Because it is also required by IDEA. The key to Child Find is timeliness. Once you obtain consent, the process should be completed in 60 days or less. Consent starts the time clock for 60 days, and for example, the consent day is day 1. Count only the days school is in session. In other words, don't count observed holidays, snow days, teacher in service days, summer or winter break, spring break, or etc. If school was closed due to a natural disaster, such as a wildfire, it does not count as a school day. Do not count calendar days or business days, only days school is in session. If school is in session, whether virtual learning or in a classroom, it counts as a school day. The Child Find collection has 2 pieces to keep in mind when deciding if you need to report a student. Is the student new to special education, brand new, no IEP or services, or were they returned to regular education because eligibility was terminated by an IEP team or parent revoked consent? And did you need to get consent to evaluate? If yes to both of these questions, you will report the student on Child Find. You collect Child Find data from July 1 through June 30th, and then the determination date must fall between these dates. Students whose evaluations were not completed within these dates are reported the following year. For example, if your consent date is May 16th, 2025, and you complete the evaluation process July 1, 2025, the student would be reported on the 2025-2026 Child Find collection. Child Find includes initial referrals. Be sure to report students found eligible for special education as well as those found not eligible. Students who exited special education being evaluated for special education again. This includes when a parent revokes services in writing or the IEP team determines the student is not eligible. Out-of-state move-ins, if you need consent to test to meet Oregon eligibility, and then also report found eligible and not eligible students, because sometimes not eligible is missed. When you exceed the 60-day timeline, there are reason codes that must be entered. If codes 2, 7, and 8 are used, the district is not flagged in SPRNI as it is an allowable exemption. Codes 2, 5, and 6 do require a comment. There's a committee that gets together to review codes and comments. The committee decides if the record needs to be recoded. Then during the review window, you will be asked to recode it. If a recode is not corrected by changing the comment or the code, the district will be marked as inaccurate. Comments for code 6 have been beneficial to help with technical assistance and to notify districts that they met the timeline or should have used another code, such as code 2. Further information about reason coding requirements are outlined in the Special Education Child Find Manual. When using code 2, be sure to include enough information in your comment to explain why you couldn't test the student. The Child Find Manual includes information about the use of code 2. Next, let's review who is not reported. Students currently eligible for special education, students currently eligible who have moved within the state of Oregon, students transitioning from ECSE to kindergarten. These students are already eligible for special education and should not be reported on Child Find. Generally speaking, the resident district or where the parent or guardian lives is responsible for reporting. Like December child count and June exit, the same exceptions apply. Note that the district that completes the evaluation and holds the determination meeting reports the Child Find record. So if one district gets consent and starts the process, but the student moves in and is completed by another, it is the district that completes the process who reports the record. The only exception would be if your district is paying another district or agency to complete the process for you, then you are the submitter of the record. For Child Find, how are the data used? They are used for federal reports, which is reporting to the U.S. Department of Education. Oregon annually submits multiple reports to the U.S. Department of Ed to comply with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Child Find data is used to meet reporting requirements for indicator B11 of the State Performance Plan or SPP. The compliance target is 100% of students with parental consent to evaluate will be evaluated and eligibility determined within 60 school days. Districts must meet this same compliance target in SPRNI. Codes 2, 7, and 8 are counted as compliant and timely in the calculation. The data are also used for indicator 11 for the at-a-glance special education profile, which is used to share district and program progress on SPP indicators with the public. There are no changes to Child Find fields this year. The only changes are the SSID core fields. For Child Find, some of the things to look out for. Counting of non-school days can impact the timeline not being met within the 60 days. Be sure to count days when school is in session, not business or calendar days. Do not count holidays, winter or spring break. Some student information systems, SIS systems, miscounted school days last school year, so we recommend that you spot check records by hand counting. Be careful when counting your school days. Many records last year, the school days did not align with the reported consent and determination dates. And then we had quite a few records where the eligibility date was different than December child count. Some were just a few days apart, and some we were concerned that they might be reevaluations rather than Child Find reportable records. There were records with timeline days over 60, but the comment indicated that the timeline was met. There were 35 duplicate records audited last year, which is down from 60 records in the prior year. Half were reported by 2 separate districts, and the other half were reported by a single district. Of the records submitted by a single district, the consent or determination date or both were the same or similar, which is why they received the audit. After the review window, we reached out to districts regarding 9 duplicate records where both records were kept and the audit was confirmed. Some were where both records were deleted, and a couple where a duplicate record was added during the review window. Be sure to delete the duplicate record before confirming the audit. If you get an audit for a duplicate record submitted by another agency, please work with that other agency to determine who should report the record. There were many records where the evaluation was completed in one day. This can happen, but we audit in case the same or similar date was entered. And then EI, ECSE programs evaluating for EI and ECSE if the eligibility determination happens before the student's 3rd birthday and the primary disability is developmental delay for ages 0 to 2, which is code 26. This will cause an error in consolidated as the record is not reportable. For example, if the evaluation and determination occur in the spring, but the birthday is in the fall after September 1, then consolidated will throw an error for the student not being age 3 as of the student effective date of September 1. These records will not be reportable on child find. Start stops. There were instances where a student had 2 records reported where the evaluation determination date for one record and the consent date for the second record are the same day or shortly after. Be careful when submitting child find records. If a student is already eligible and the team is doing a reevaluation, then of course it's not a child find record. There were a lot of students who had eligibilities from the last few years reported, and many students who were reported on the child find in 2021-22 or in 22-23 were reported again then in 23-24. There were many records with timeline not met code 2 with comments that were insufficient to justify code 2, which is based on not having access to the student. Example comments were about absences or illnesses without the number of days, calendar issues or issues scheduling meetings, inability to schedule the evaluation without providing the number of times the agency tried to evaluate, but the student was not presented, etc. English learner flag not matching what was reported in fall ADM. Records with timeline not met code 6 with a comment that was insufficient in explaining the delay by the district. Failure to change the reason timeline not met code or the comment during the review window. Please be sure to read the full message and respond to the entire recode audit. For 23-24, these are the trends we noted for a few districts. Some confirmed an audit without changing the timeline not met code or the comment. Some did not provide sufficient change to the comment to substantiate the use of code 2. And then some changed the timeline not met code to something that was not indicated in the audit message. Remember, if an audit message is something like based on comment, change timeline not met code 2 and provide the number of days student absent, then it is required to put the number of days the student was absent. And here's some comment guidance. If reason timeline not met code is 2, 5, or 6, then a comment is required. As mentioned earlier, be careful when using code 2. Be sure to explain the reasons evaluations could not be completed due to not having access to the student. Some records submitted in recent years contain the code description. Please add a detailed comment as this helps the team determine if the record should be recoded or not. We do find records that meet exemptions. For example, code could be a code 2 or even meets timeline. Remember that if you are asked to change the timeline not met code or the comment, then the comment change should have sufficient details to substantiate the exemption. ODE cannot accept a comment that is changed by one word or a comment that is reworded but says essentially the same thing. Recodes during the review window. Here are some examples. Example of what not to do. The audit message was change reason timeline not met code to 6 or change comment to include days student was absent. Can only use code 2 if absent more than 15 days. If no change, district will be considered inaccurate. Original comment, student was not available due to excessive absences. Updated comment, Student had excessive absences. This comment was changed but says the same thing and does not include the count of days absent. Example of what to do. Audit. Change reason timeline not met code to 6 or change comment to include days student was absent. Can only use code 2 if absent more than 20 days. If no change, district will be considered inaccurate. Original comment. Lack of attendance kept us from moving forward. Updated comment. Student absent 25 days during this time frame. This comment was changed to include the count of days absent, which justified the code 2 exemption. Here's an example of an audit for a district that used timeline not met code 2. Example of what not to do. Audit message was change reason timeline not met code to 6 or change comment. If no change, district will be considered inaccurate. Timeline not met code was a 2. Timeline days was 135 days. The original comment was due to absences, child not available for assessment for team to complete evaluations in 60 days. The updated comment was excessive absences, was absent for 35 days. In this example, the district updated the timeline not met code, but the number of days out does not allow the district to use code 2 exemption, because even if the student was absent 35 days, the district would have been at 100-day timeline days. Example of what to do. Audit message was change reason timeline not met code to 6 or change comment. If no change, district will be considered inaccurate. The timeline not met code reported was a 6, and the timeline days indicated was 135. The original comment, due to absences, child not available for assessment for team to complete evaluation in 60 days. Next, we'll cover the review window for the 3 collections. I wanted to briefly review or talk about the review windows for the collections. For the regular collection, please don't submit placeholder data. The purpose of the review window is to clean up the data, not for submitting original data to ODE. During the review window, you can make revisions to the data, such as adding or deleting records. In addition, we screen data for errors and provide audit messages or comments to help you with data cleanup. The respective review windows are as follows. For Child Find and June Exit, it's in the fall, August and September. For December Child Count after New Year's, it's January and February. For these, you will have about 4 weeks to do your data cleanup, including reviewing and addressing ODE audit messages. So during the review window, under audit details, pay attention to the audit comment. The comment is a message from the special education data team indicating why the record is being flagged as an error or a warning. If you're not sure what the comment means, call a member of the data team for assistance. It's best not just to confirm it. Click on the green check mark to review the record. Once corrected, click confirm on the top left. This will save your records or your corrections to your record, and the record will disappear from your audit list. Users can update records in the review audit screen, and there's no need to do a web submission to add a new record with the corrected information. Using web submission will lead to duplicate records, so be careful. The same is true for review error screen. Records can be updated on the review error screen. And then please note that you cannot delete records from the review audit screen. To delete records, you'll go to record management, record maintenance. And we do get a lot of questions about how to delete a record. These are the steps during the review window and the regular collection window. So first, you'll search for the student in record management, record maintenance. The SSID is usually the easiest way to find the student's record, but you can also search by name. Once you have identified that this is the correct record that you want to delete, you're going to click on the red X to the far right. When asked if you want to proceed, indicate yes, the record is deleted from your submission. Note, while you can delete records from the audit review error screen, you cannot delete the records from the review audit screen. Audits are attached to the posted records previously submitted that we have questions about. To add a record to your submission, you will go to Data Submission, Web Submission, search for the student by SSID or name, click the green check mark. A blank record is open for you to enter the required data for the collection. Here's a tip to ensuring an accurate record is submitted. When you add a single record via web submission, always check the pre-populated fields at the bottom of the record. It populates from the SSID system, so it may not be up to date and may contain errors. If a student has moved, check the district and school IDs. If a student moved in from another district and you're adding a record to December child count, it may have the previous district's information. If the student moved to another district and you are adding a record to June exit, it may have the new district's information, so yours will need to be changed back. If you need to edit a record, do not use the web submission. This has resulted in duplicate records being submitted. If updating a record with an audit in a review window audit screen, click the green check mark to edit the record and then click Save and Confirm when done. If entering a record, in general, go to record maintenance first. If the record is there, click the green check mark to edit the record and then click Save when done. If the record is not there, go to Data Submission, then Web Submission to add the record. The final submission form is required for child count and June exit for both the main window and the review window. In November and December, you will send the child count form. In January and February, you will send the child count review window form. In June, July, you will send a June exit form. In September, October, you will send us the June exit review window form. And as a reminder, the final submission form button is only available when the collection is open. If you need to download the form after the collection closes, a member of the data team can do that for you, so please reach out to us. And then finally, a reminder that the verification reports are required for both the review window for child count, child find, and for June exit. To wrap up our discussion of the collections and the review window process, here are some cautions when logging into the consolidated collections. Districts should always log into December child count, June exit, and child find under their district ID. Logging in as a school to add or update a record will lead to inaccurate counts on the verification reports and status tracking and on their final submission form. Consortium managers should always log in the same way to submit data. If you log in as the ESD and submit data for all your member districts, then you should always log in under the ESD ID. In this example, logging in as a district to add or update a record will lead to inaccurate counts on the ESD's verification reports and status tracking and on the ESD's final submission form. Then contractors for programs should always log in as the district or the ESD and not the program. Also, this can lead to the inability to see audit messages. Next, we'll talk briefly about the IDA Data Manager, which includes utility features and the agency contacts that is used to contact and notify agencies regarding collections. The utilities feature has 3 utilities. Advanced SECC grades allows users to advance the enrolled grade of only A3 records that are in the SECC screen, except grades PK and grade 12. It will not advance any other record type. The Remove Exited Records utility allows users to remove E3 records in the SECC screen with an exit date prior to July 1. It will not remove E1 and E2 records, nor records with an exit date of July 1 and after. This function is active the day after June exit review window closes. The Migrate Child Find Records utility allows users to migrate child find eligible records in the child find screen to the SECC screen as A3 records. It will not make A1 or A2 records. This action should clear records from the child find screen. And warning, none of these can be undone. Before I talk about the agency part of the IDA Data Manager, I wanted to remind everyone that we will send a listserv reminder to update agency information every August. Some things you'll want to remember is you will want to check each tab and update as needed. And as a final step, always click the Click to Verify button. This is the only way we will know that the information is up to date. And by that, I mean agency, staff contacts, or the SECC consortium. To ensure a staff contact will be on the listserv, be sure the Add to Listserv flag is yes. If there is no applicable staff contact field, but they want or need to be on the listserv, please email us at our ODE data team address. Use the additional information box to communicate special information to us that you want us to know, and some districts use it also to add a backup SECC or Child Find data submitter. So for agency, the first tab is the Instructions tab, which provides basic information and explanations of what we mean by terms like staff year-round and SECC consortium. It also contains verification status. The 3 editable tabs are agency, contacts, and SECC consortium. Each tab defaults to display a yellow triangle and indicating action is needed. When verified, the tab will display a green check box. Verification status also displays in the boxes in the bottom part of the screen. A red box is for not yet verified, and a green verified box with the same name of the person who verified and the date. The Agency tab shows basic agency information such as address, phone, business days, and if staff is in the office year-round. The top portion is not editable and comes from the institution's database. If there's an error, please let a member of the data team know so we can get you an institution's update request form. Business days is helpful for us so we know the districts that are Monday through Friday and those that are Monday through Thursday. Staff year-round indicates whether staff who submit data collections work year-round or not. And there is also a verify button at the top of the screen. When clicked, your name and the date will appear in the green box. Note, the most common errors on this tab are for the first and last day of school fields. If the year is a 2-digit instead of a 4-digit, then the system will throw an error. Also, if the year is outside the current school year, then it will also throw a validation error. An example would be end of class is June 2024 instead of 2025. The Staff Contacts tab gathers data submitter contact information. When a contact is updated, ODE staff receive an email containing the updated contact information, which allows us to add new staff to our listserv as soon as possible. And the purpose for this is information is used to contact data submitters, special education directors, and superintendents if we have questions or need to call in advance of collection closing. It's used to populate the superintendent and special education director on the at-a-glance special education profile that is published in late winter, early spring. If these are not updated, the profile is published with the incorrect names and is out there for many years. It's also used to update our special education collections listserv. And then required staff contacts are agency staff contact updater, superintendent, special education director, business manager, SECC data submitter, child find data submitter, IDA excess cost data submitter, CEIS data submitter, private school data submitter, discipline data submitter, physical restraint data submitter, medically fragile data submitter, and dental screening data submitter. There's a column for add to listserv. This tells ODE you want to be on the listserv. It is required and defaulted to yes for the special education director, the SECC contact, and the child find contact. Other contacts can choose yes or no. There's a verify button at the top of the screen. When clicked, your name and the date will appear in the green box. And then when clicked, your name and the date will appear in the columns at the end to the right of the add to listserv column. And some problem areas, please don't forget to update the staff contacts email address. The SECC consortium tab is where districts and ESDs can indicate if they are a consortium manager. If yes, a list of members will be displayed. In this list, there's a button to remove members. There's a drop menu to add new members. Member districts will see the consortium manager listed on this page. If it is incorrect, please contact that ESD or school district. The state contractors tab is where districts and ESDs can see if they are contract managers. If yes, a list of programs will display. State programs tab is updated by ODE. Both tabs have drop menus for collection years, so districts and ESDs can see prior year memberships. In the ID Data Manager, you can review data quality in the Late and Inaccurate tab. This is a view-only tab for districts and ESDs to review their data quality to see if they are timely and accurate on their collections. This screen indicates no for all fields until ODE updates them. We do not update until we receive and process your final submission form or until after the collection is closed. The main collection window and review window have their own columns of yes/no flags. This tab contains late and inaccurate information for December child count, June exit, and child find, and their review windows. There's a drop menu for collection years, so districts and ESDs can view or see prior year late and inaccurate information. Note that the child find table does not show final submission form information because it does not have a final submission form. Data from the screen is also used in SPRNI to indicate whether districts are timely and accurate, and is also one of the elements used for district determinations. After the collection is complete, ODE has processed the form. Green means good. Late submission marked no is green, as that means the district was timely. The final submission form marked yes is green, means that ODE received the form before the due date, and inaccurate data submission marked no is green, as the district submitted accurate data. In this example, the district got all of child count in timely and accurately. After the collection is complete and ODE has processed the form, red means bad, so late submission for review marked yes is red, as this means the district was not timely for that collection. When marked yes, a field with the date of the late submission will display. In this example, the date is February 8th of 2023. The final submission form received for review marked no is red. This means that ODE has not received the form. If you see final submission form received marked no before the due date on the form, don't panic. Late final submission form for child count marked yes is red, as this means the district did not submit the form in a timely manner for that collection. When marked yes, a field with the date of the late submission will display. In this example, the date is January 6, 2023. Inaccurate data submission marked yes is red, as this means that the district submitted inaccurate data. And then if inaccurate, a comment box will display why the district was inaccurate. In this example, the review window was open to fix a record. Next, we want to talk about data quality. So timely and accurate data submissions are included as part of each district's overall determination annually. This is important because data drives decisions and improvement efforts. Timely means that you submitted your data by the due date. This includes verifying your reports and sending us the final submission form by the due date listed on the form. If we have to open a collection for you to finish or for you to verify your reports, your submission is considered late. We don't want anyone to be late, so we send listserv messages and call districts the week leading up to the close date. As always, please contact a member of the data team if you need help. Accurate means that you submitted accurate data. We only allow changes to child count for fiscal impact reasons once the review window closes. This is generally long-term care and treatment, JDEP, YSEP, and regional inclusive services students. If you feel you need to make a change, please contact a member of the data team. If a correction is made to your submission, your district will be considered inaccurate, unfortunately. We generally do not allow corrections to June exit and child find after the review window closes. If we do find an error that impacts your federal report that is generated in October, we will contact you to let you know and have you fix the record. For child find, if you fail to recode or change your comment as requested during the child find review window, unfortunately, you will be considered inaccurate. And then finally, a warning: timely and accurate information for each of the three collections, again, is used for your district's overall determination status. So a little bit more on annual determination status. If late ones or inaccurate ones during the year, then your district will have to implement improvement efforts. This means that one no results in an automatic determination of needs intervention. And next, we wanted to talk about some tips for submitting timely and accurate data. Keep your data up to date at all times as much as possible. The more up to date the data is, the less time it will take you to prepare the data for submission to ODE. You'll want to submit your data as early as possible. You don't want to rush, but technology, weather, and other factors can subtly keep you from submitting your data on the final day. And then you'll always want to train at least one backup person to submit, validate, and correct data for each of your data collections. Key people may get sick, injured, or leave without notice, so don't forget to have the district security administrator grant appropriate permissions to this backup staff member, and that means that they'll need both modify and primary submitter rights. And then also, it's best to make an annual plan with a data submission calendar for submitting your data, what needs to be done, when, and by whom. Finally, we want to cover resources available to districts and agencies. The SECC Gov Delivery listserv. These are messages sent from the email address ode@publicgovdelivery.com, and sender is the Oregon Department of Education. We add special education data in the subject line so that messages stand out regarding collections. Some things you'll want to keep in mind with this listserv is that check your clutter, junk, or spam. It's important to be on our listserv if you're a data submitter. We use the listserv to notify when collections are open, when they close, and also other important information that you will need to know. It's important to read the entirety of each email or listserv. These messages contain critical information that you must know. And all of you will be added to our listserv. If someone needs to be added, be sure to contact a member of the data team. We also have YouTube videos available. These are short, around 5-minute videos for all major functions of the IDA Data Manager tools for SECC and ChildFind, reports and help functions within the IDA Data Manager, importing and exporting data, and also uploading a file to consolidated collections. Trainings is also another resource. Along with this virtual webinar, we provide a boot camp for new data submitters each fall, a virtual spring webinar for spring collections, and we post a recording of the fall webinar. And resources, other resources, is we have a process and content manual, a process and content supplement, consolidated collections user guide, there's an IDA Data Manager user guide, and the ChildFind manual, which are all located on the Special Education Data Collections page. We also have a Q&A document posted to the public web. These were compiled based on questions asked during trainings and webinars. Other resources, we have IDA Data Manager help features. The IDA Data Manager also has resources in the help menu. FAQs contain frequently asked questions about child count, June exit, and ChildFind. Resources contain ODE staff contacts, links to manuals and user guides, links to YouTube page we talked about earlier, links to the collection web pages on the district website, links to the training resources on the public web page. We also have the schedule of due dates. It's also known as SODS. It's a list of all the ODE collections, and it contains the open and close dates, the contact person for that collection, and also the email and phone number. The collections and validations page has links to all ODE collections. These pages contain open and close dates, again, the contact person and their email and phone number. There's manuals and user guides for the respective collection. There's also training resources provided, PowerPoint presentation, video links, and any upcoming trainings that are going to be provided. And then there's also the file formats. IT has moved all 4 file formats to the centralized web page, which will contain the most up-to-date file format for the collection that you're submitting for. And then also the ODE collection catalog. is available, and this application can be used to search for information about the data that ODE collects or has collected. And it provides basic information on collections such as purpose, description, collection type, collection audience, and publications. Basically reports that use or show the data. And to search for a collection in the ODE collection catalog, you're going to type in the collection name or select the criteria you're interested in and then click search. The default search is for all collections that match any of the criteria selected. Use the drop downs to limit the search to only open or discontinued collections or to require results to match all of your search criteria. Discontinued collections are listed, including those that have been replaced by a new collection. So CEIS and private school display both on the discontinued paper collection, also the current electronic collection. And these are all of our manuals that we provide to help you with the collections. The Special Education Child Count Process and Content Manual covers reporting essentials for December child count and June exit. It includes examples, codes, and definitions for both collections. There is also the Process and Content Supplement that contains institution IDs for state programs, county jails, and charter schools. The IDA Data Manager User Guide covers the IDA Data Manager tools for SECC and Child Find, for the reports that are available, the utilities that are available, the agency screen, and the steps for submitting CEIS and private school data. The ESO Consolidated Collections User Guide covers submitting data to ODE, adding and deleting and revising records, clearing errors and audits, and how to verify reports and status tracking. We have added discipline collections, including how to verify the submission, as that process is different from the special education collections. And then the Special Education Child Find Manual covers the reporting essentials for Child Find. Finally, customer service is important to us. Here's our contact information. Should you need help with your collections, please call or email us if you need help. The data team can answer questions for any of the 3 collections. Therese Gordon is the data owner and expert for Child Find. The Special Education Data Team can answer technical questions regarding the data to be reported, as well as navigation of the IDA Data Manager and consolidated collections. However, compliance questions should always be directed to Therese. Thank you so much for all that you do. We appreciate you. Thank you and have a wonderful day.